We hebben dus vandaag professor Carrillo. En ik wil u dus bedanken voor uw geduld, uw bedrag. Hij is er. En ik moet zeggen, ik ben heel blij om zoveel mensen te zien vanavond. Ik ga het niet te lang maken. Ik wil dan direct professor Carrillo voorstellen aan u. Hij gaat zichzelf, professor, you're going to tell them who you are, what you're doing, and I'm giving you the mic.
Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here with you. As I said, I'm Miguel Carrillo, and I'm sorry because my English is not so good. I'm Mexican, so I speak fluent Mexican, or Spanish. And I'm French. Who speaks French here? There you go. Cette conférence. Who am I? This is a very philosophical question. I mean, I still have that question myself. But basically, I'm now in charge of the largest graduate school of business in the Caribbean, the Arthur Love Jack Graduate School of Business, that is based in Trinidad and Tobago, where we belong to the University of West Indies. We are affiliated to the University of West Indies now. I'm a PhD in Strategy and Innovation from McGill University in Canada, in Montreal, so very cold place. I have a master's degree, and I finished it in Stanford. I worked for McKinsey & Company a couple of years, for Hewlett-Packard as well. I've lectured in 14 different countries. I hope that very soon this is going to be my 15th country that I will lecture. And well, basically, after I worked for McKinsey & Company, I found out that my real passion is really teaching research and serving actually students, which I find really, really pleasant. And basically today, what I wanted to share with you is, a couple of ideas of what I've been observing in the last 18 months in my interaction with several companies and organizations, basically in the region, in the Caribbean. And basically, one of my passions in the last 15 years that I've been actually out of the school from my PhD have been really innovation, specifically innovation in developing countries, right? So when I was studying in McGill, I kind of started to do some research about innovation, and I wrote down with all the databases that we had, the words innovation and developing countries. I didn't find much information about that. And it made me think that in our own way, in countries like Mexico, like Trinidad, and Guyana or Suriname, there must be some sort of way to create innovation, to create value. But let me just tell you some context. Let me contextualize what I'm trying to talk about today. Whatever you are doing, whatever company you are working or organization that you want to develop, I believe that any company should have just five different goals: to grow, to keep growing, to accelerate growth, to make the growth sustainable, and to make it profitable. Even if you're an NGO, okay, or a not-for-profit, that doesn't mean that you should be not for us, okay? You're not for profit, but you're not for us. So growth is really at the center of what an organization or a company should do. Why growth is so important? If a company is not growing, if a country is not growing, you cannot offer more prosperity, more wealth, more chances of development, and actually satisfaction to its people. And as well as an organization is exactly the same way. You can create a nice business, but if you don't grow, your best people will start leaving. There's no chance for development here. I cannot select more and more and more. So growth is very important. Even whenever we talk about the species, Darwin, stated very clearly in his theory of evolution, distinctive steps. Okay? The first one is variation. So, which is, in a way, how organisms mutate, change. Okay? The second is selection. But that selection could be either positive or negative. That depends on whether our mutation as organism was able to fit better with the changes in the context. Now, interesting enough, natural organisms or animals or plants tend to change faster, when the context is very volatile, very uncertain. So the first step is variation, which really is changing. The second step is either positive or negative selection. And once you have a positive selection, the third step is retention. The third step is retention, which means that the species have been able to find the particular mutation that will enable them to survive. And once you have this natural selection or positive selection, there is replication, which is a fun part, right? Yes, the replication. The scientific word for what? But what it means is really that once you're able to change, to adapt better to your environment, that change, that innovation, it's the only way that nature or an intelligent being or intelligent sign is a method of how we actually accomplish our innovations. We per se we are an innovation from nature. Okay, as human beings, we're an innovation from nature. The point here is variation really is the way of how nature experiments with ourselves. Okay? So, at the heart of innovation is really, part of our own way of evolving as human beings. And let me tell you, how to innovate. The process of innovation is absolutely no different as the process of evolution. It requires experimentation, which is iteration. It requires selection, which is trial and error. Okay? It requires as well replication. If your business model works in one location, and if it's good and solid, you will be able to replicate that business model in another location, which means another neighborhood, south, north, or another country. The dynamics are very similar. Okay? By the way, do you remember in your classes in primary school, do you remember the scientific method? I think it was in high school, right? And we learned scientific method. Do you remember what are the steps of the scientific method? Like, have an idea? Yeah? What's the first step? Remember? Start with the letter O. Observation, exactly. You observe a phenomenon. You try to understand what's going on. And then, once you observe, then you propose a hypothesis. Excellent. Which really is a way of assuming, if I do this could be the result. What's the third step? The experiment. You go ahead, you do your research, which means that you might run experiments and so forth. Once you run your experiment, you came up with some